Hey, I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for Bellator 146, Kato versus Manhoef, which happens on November 20th. Before I get into that, though, I have to plug my website. It's my author's website at www.chrismoldon.com. I am an aspiring author, mainly doing like fantasy, action, adventure type of stories. So please go to my website to check out my blogs, the Writer's Talk web series, free short stories, and buy some stories for sale. Also, on January 1st, my very first novel, The Mustard Prince and the Condiment Kingdom, is going to be out for sale on my website as well. So check that out when it comes out. Okay, on to the Bellator 146 card. To be honest, I actually kind of like it. The undercard actually has some interesting fights with like Julia Buds on it. You have another women's fight on it. Andre Santos versus Josh Neer actually isn't a bad fight for a prelim. Some of the other fights a bit forgettable. The main card, I mean, Manhoef versus Kato at the very least should be violent. Jenkins versus Parsons it's actually a decent fight between prospects. And they're like pretty good, just pretty good wrestler. They're good wrestlers too, so it's very interesting to see how that fight's gonna turn out. This is actually a nice action card, and actually they have very good even matchups. Surprising, like Kato versus Manhoef is actually a pretty even matchup. Jenkins versus Parsons is even. It's even stylistically, that's very even when you look at like their skill set. And Njokuani versus Rainey, they're both stand-up fighters who hit hard. That's fun. Campos, Girtz, they're kind of wrestle boxer type guys, so that's pretty good. And then Alexander Viana, I don't know if it's. I don't think Houston Alexander fights are going to be that fun these days. But, Gamma Viana is actually not a bad light heavyweight prospect. So let's get started. Okay, in the main event, Hisaki Kato fights Melvin Manhoef. Okay, Manhoef, 29-12 record with 1 draw and 2 no contests. 27 KOs and TKOs, 2 decisions. It's 4 losses by KO or TKO, 7 losses by sub, 39 years old, training out of Mike's gym. He is actually a really well-known kickboxer. As far as MMA goes, he still hits really hard. He has a really good leg kick. However, he does get wild at times and leaves himself open. His chin is not very good at all. Very much a glass cannon type of fighter. His grappling, it's for MMA and for who he is, it's as good as it's going to get. I think it's better than like Schilling's, for example. Like he's not just going to fall over per se, but he's also very weak on the ground too. Hisaki Kato, 5-1 record, all 5 wins by KO or TKO, and he has 1 loss by TKO. He's 33 years old. He's never been past the second round, and he has that notable KO win over Joe Schilling. A Schilling fight, he showed that he does have some offensive takedown ability. He does hit pretty hard. His striking's not too bad. Here's the thing, though. Joe Schilling, even at that time, I want to even go so far as to say he had a losing record. I don't know how good Hisaki Kato really is, to be honest with you. Watch the fight. You can see that Joe Schilling was definitely very worried about the takedowns. He got taken down and controlled for like the whole first round. In the second round, it looks like he was just like anticipating takedowns and then gets Superman punched and knocked out. Joe Schilling's still really new in MMA. I don't know if Kato's win over Schilling is some sort of grand achievement per se, like he's really that good, or he's just fighting a guy who, has a high-level kickboxing pedigree, who transferred over to MMA, but is still really new to MMA. at the very least with Melvin Manhoef, he's fought MMA. He fought a lot of MMA. He's fought high-level guys. He's knocked out high-level guys in different weight classes. The guy that knocked out Mark Hunt. You know, at the very least, Manhoef has fought guys who will try to take him down, whether it's like Tim Kennedy or whoever. You know, heck, a lot of guys. I don't know why I just pinpointed him, but nonetheless, I'm actually going to go Manhoef here. Like I said, I know that Kato has a big win over Schilling, and Manhoef does have the glass chin. I mean, honestly, his chin just isn't very good. He got knocked out by Schilling. He got knocked out by Shlemenko. So there's very much this worry that he's going to get knocked out by Kato. It's not unheard of. You have to consider that Manhoef does have exponential, 8, 9 times more fights than Kato. Manhoef, for all his flaws, still hits really hard. And once again, I don't really know if Kato is as good as advertised just because he beat Schilling, or is he just overvalued at this point? Where it's like, oh wow, he knocked out Roshaun. Let's put him in the main event and see where this goes, you know? So yeah, I'm gonna go Manhoef. I just think he has way more experience in MMA. Like, he's seen people try to take him down, at least. Whereas Schilling just seemed like he was frozen and just only thinking about that takedown. And in the stand-up, I guess at least offensively, Manhoef's still one of the hardest hitting guys out there. So I'm going to go Melvin Manhoef by KO or TKO. Next fight after that, Bubba Jenkins fights Jordan Parsons. Okay, Bubba Jenkins, 9-2 record. 4 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub, 27 years old, trains out of Body Shop Fitness with Antonio McKee and whatnot. With Bubba Jenkins, he's actually beaten some pretty decent. He beat a pretty decent jiu-jitsu guy recently. He lost to Karakanian, but Karakanian's so much more experienced than Jenkins. Jenkins has he does have really good wrestling. He's a little more controlled these days too. He used to just dive into guillotines and stuff, and was not economical in his approach to MMA. He's getting a lot more economical about it. Jordan Parsons, kind of similar too. 11-1 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub, 25 years old, a 4-fight win streak. Last I read, he's training out the Blackzilians. I'm not too sure if that's true. I remember he's training out west. I'm not too sure where he trains. Last I read, it was Blackzilians. Similarly, it is something of a wrestle boxer type, kind of like Jenkins. Interesting fight. I think this is actually a pretty underrated fight. I don't know if it's going to be a great stylistic matchup per se, as far as aesthetically pleasing, entertaining fight. But you got two guys, relatively young in MMA. It's two prospects pretty much fighting each other. Parsons is coming off that win over Julio Cesar Neves. Jenkins, if I'm not mistaken, is coming off that loss. Nonetheless, I'm going to go Bubba Jenkins. I think he might just be a little... This one's tough. I'm actually kind of coin flipping here because they're kind of similar. I'll go Jenkins here. I like the improvements that Jenkins has made. I mean, despite getting guillotined by Karakanian, I like the improvements in his stand-up. He's still a really good wrestler with good ground and pound, and I think he's making necessary adjustments these days. So Bubba Jenkins by decision. Next fight after that, Chidi Bang Bang and Njokuani fights Ricky Rainey. Rainey, 11-3 record, 7 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. Has his 2 losses by KO or TKO, 32 years old. He's 6-1 on a 2-fight win streak. You might remember Ricky Rainey as a guy who got styled on by Michael Page back in one of the big Bellator tentpole events. He's one of Michael Page's victims, pretty much. And Njokuani, 13-4 record with 1 no contest, 8 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO and 2 losses by sub. He's only 26 years old, tall for the weight class. He's 6'3". He's on a 3-fight win streak. And Njokuani, he has good Muay Thai, good kicks. It's really good, really powerful kicks too. And I've seen guys block his kicks and they still move. He hits really hard. He's not that good on the ground though. That's the biggest problem with the Njokuanis are their ground games just aren't very good. And nonetheless, I don't think this fight's gonna hit the ground. I think Njokuani is going to win by KO or TKO. He's pretty diverse with his striking too, so I like what I see out of Njokuani. So yeah, Chidi Njokuani by KO or TKO. Next fight after that, Derek Campos fights Brandon Girtz. Derek Campos, 15-5 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. Also has 2 losses by submission. 27 years old, trains out of Moeller MMA. He's actually defeated Girtz by unanimous decision in Bellator, if I'm not mistaken, back in June of 2013. Pretty much like a wrestler, like a jack of all trades, master of none. His stand-up's not too bad, nothing spectacular. He does have a good wrestling. His overall grappling game is solid. Brandon Girtz, 13-4 record, 1 win by TKO, 8 wins by sub. Also has 2 losses by KO or TKO. 30 years old on a 2-fight win streak. Trains out of Grudge, and he has a notable win over Melvin Gillard. That was actually in the main event. With Girtz, I've seen Girtz lose to the likes of Derek Anderson. Then he beats Gillard. I think he's improving, I think he's just a little more effective with his wrestling these days. His stand-up's still just average at best. He's a really strong guy. I can see it. I think Girtz has made enough improvements to edge out the win here. So I'm going to go with Brandon Girtz by decision. Again, final fight of the main card, Houston, the Assassin Alexander fights Guilherme Viana. Viana, 6-2 record, 4 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub, 29 years old. He's 6'4", and he is a finisher. His boxing is actually pretty solid. He didn't look so great. He fought Francis. Last time he fought was a loss against Francis Carmon. And he lost that fight in the way Carmon wins his fights. But Viana hits hard. He actually had, like I said, he actually has a pretty decent jab. And overall decent boxing skills, big for the weight class as well. Alexander, 16-12 record with 1 draw, 2 no contests, 11 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. Also has 6 losses by KO or TKO and 2 losses by sub. He's 43 years old. He's going to be shorter fight at 6 foot. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, trains out of Grudge and Hit Squad. The thing with Houston Alexander is he used to be this fun action fighter. He used to blitz guys. He used to have a good leg kick, really good knees, hard punches. He started to be something of a top control grinder, actually, which is really surprising considering how just terrible he looks off his back. I never actually thought he'd get much of a wrestling grappling game. But yeah, that's kind of what he's doing these days. He takes him down and kind of grinds on top, His stand-up, he's a guy that still gets hit, and he doesn't take a punch very well. So with that said, I'm going to go Guilherme Viana to win this by KO or TKO. Hopefully he can defend Alexander's takedowns and beat him up on the feet. Okay, on to the prelims. I know some of these guys, but I don't know all. I'll tell you if I don't know. If I haven't watched videos of these guys, I'll tell you. So Kenyon Jackson fights Bubba McDaniel at a 195-pound catchweight bout. I've seen Bubba McDaniel. He has a 25-10 record, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 18 wins by sub. Also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 7 losses by sub, 32 years old. He's 6'3". He's actually defeated Jackson pretty recently by submission back in July of 2015. Name of McDaniel's game really is his ground game. I haven't watched video of Kenyon Jackson, but look, he has a 3-2 record, but Bubba McDaniel has a 25-10 record. I mean, it's not much I want to say. Like Jackson has 2 wins by KO and 1 win by sub. I'm gonna pick Bubba McDaniel to win that. Next fight after that, I have not seen video of these guys. Or it's a case of like if I have, because some of these guys, their names look really familiar to me, but I just don't remember them. Roshaun Jones fights Klayton Mai. So Roshaun Jones, 2 wins, 3 losses. 1 win by TKO, 1 win by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO and 1 loss by sub, so he's never been to decision. Klayton Mai, 7-1 record, 1 win by TKO, 6 wins by sub. Also has 1 loss by sub, so he's never actually been past the second round. Mai is 28 years old, on 2-fight win streak, training out of Octagon MMA. Other guys that train out of Octagon MMA would be like Damon Jackson and Sean Spencer and Matt Hobar, if I'm not mistaken. Go Klayton Mai to win that one. Next fight after that, I haven't seen any video of these guys, so pick 'em fight here. Chris Jones versus Treston Thomison. Thomison, 8-3 record, 1 win by KO, 6 wins by sub. Has his 2 losses by KO TKO. Chris Jones, 9-3 record, 4 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO, 34 years old, training out of Muller MMA. I'll go with Chris Jones to win that one. Total pick 'em fight. I haven't seen video of these guys. So that's going to be the case with a lot of these, just to tell you. Next fight, that Stephen Banaszak fights George Pacurariu. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'll just call him Pacurariu. Pacurariu, 10-4 record, 2 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO. He's 31 years old. He's going to be a shorter fight at 5'7" on a 2-fight win streak. Trains out of Octagon MMA. Banaszak, 4-5 record, 1 win by KO, 3 wins by sub. Also has 1 loss by KO and 4 losses by sub. He's only 24 years old. He's a taller fighter at 6 foot. He's never been past the second round. I'll go George Pacurariu to win that one. Next fight after that, Francisco France fights Ben Reiter. Ben Reiter, 16-0 record with 1 draw. So he's undefeated, actually. 7 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub. 20 years old. He's pretty big at 6'3". And he's on a 6-fight win streak. He actually most recently beat, I believe it was Benji Raddick, if I'm not mistaken. I remember actually watching one of Reiter's fights. He didn't impress me so much. I remember he actually was something of like a top control guy last I saw. But yeah, I don't remember watching the Benji Raddick fight. Francisco France, 12-3 record with 1 draw, 11 wins by sub, 1 win by decision. It's 2 losses by KO TKO. 32 years old. He's 6'1" on a 4-fight win streak. And he trains out of Power MMA and Chimera Nova União. So it's really tough for me to call. Actually, I know I've seen Francisco France. I like where he trains out of too. Geez, or should I stick with the undefeated guy? Well, this is kind of a pick and fight for me. I'll go Ben Reiter to stay undefeated. Next fight after that, Julia the Jewel Bud fights Roberta Crusher Paim Rovel. Rovel, 4-0 undefeated record, 3 wins by TKO, 1 win by sub. 27 years old. She's never been past the first round, and she trains out of Astra Fight Team. With the likes of Darren Till, actually trains at Astra. Julia Budd, 7-2 record, 3 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub, 32 years old on a 5-fight win streak. Her style of fighting, even though she is a kickboxer, has been something more of a top control grinder. She takes her opponent down, doesn't do much on top unless she passes the mount. And, yeah, I think that's just what she's going to do in this fight, to be honest with you. I'm going to go Julia Budd by decision and grinding decision. I'm actually a bit disappointed in what I see with Budd sometimes because sometimes she can fight a far less inferior fighter and still want to implement that type of fighting. I don't understand the mentality there when she can beat opponents up on the feet or just even at least more ground and pound or something. I think she's capable of more, and just for some reason she's not doing more. That she only does as much as she has to win fights. Next, I thought Josh the Dentist Neer fights Andre Santos. Neer 36-14 record with 1 draw, 18 wins by KO TKO, 14 wins by sub. That's his 2 losses by KO TKO, 5 losses by sub. 32 years old. Neer, his takedown defense isn't that good. He is far too content off his back. His stand-up's good. He's really good clinch striking as well. His chin is deteriorating quite a bit, though. Andre Santos, 37-10 record, 5 wins by KO TKO, 22 wins by sub. Also has 4 losses by KO TKO and 3 losses by sub, 34 years old. With Santos, his ground game is really strong. He does opt to stand with his opponent, and his stand-up's like, at best, brawling. He's a resilient dude, as shown as a resilient fighter, as shown in this fight against Paul Daly. So with that said, I'm actually going to go Andre Santos to win this one. I think that with Santos, at the very least, he should be able to take Josh Neer down. I think should be better on the ground than him. Okay. Next round, I thought Arlene Angerfist Blencowe fights Gabrielle Gavinator Holloway. Holloway, she just lost to Juliet Budd, if I'm not mistaken. Blencowe most recently lost to Marlis Kunin. Blencowe, 6-5 record, 3 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. She also has 4 losses by submission. 32 years old. Her stand-up, her boxing is actually pretty solid. Her ground game, at the very least, is improving. Holloway, 5-3 record, 1 win by TKO, 1 win by sub, 25 years old. There's not much noteworthy about Holloway. I can't really say she has like that good of stand-up or that good of a ground game, to be honest with you. So with that said, I'm going to go with Arlene Blencowe for the win. And finally, Alonzo Manhoef fights Zach Russell. Okay, Manhoef. The only thing I know about Manhoef is he's 21 years old. He has no pro or amateur MMA bouts. Zach Russell, 1-0 pro MMA record with that 1 win beat by TKO, a 3-0 amateur record with 1 of those wins being by KO and 2 of those wins by sub. And he's never been past the first round as a pro or amateur. So I'm going with Zach Russell to win that one. Okay, to recap, the main card of Melvin Manhoef over Hisaki Kato, Bubba Jenkins beating Jordan Parsons, Chidi and Njokuani over Ricky Rainey, Brandon Girtz over Derek Campos, and Guilherme Viana beating Houston Alexander. On the prelims of Bubba McDaniel over Kenyon Jackson, Klayton beating Roshaun Jones, Chris Jones over Treston Thomison, George Pacurariu beating Stephen Banaszak, Ben Reiter over Francisco France, Juliet Budd over Roberta Paim Rovel, Andre Santos beating Josh Neer, Arlene Blencowe over Gabrielle Holloway, and Zach Russell over Alonzo Manhoef. So that's it for my predictions for Bellator 146, Kato versus Manhoef. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.